Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout New Vegas, where today we're going to be taking a look at some more explosive ordnance. Today we're going to be taking a look at the plasma grenade and the plasma mine, two weapons that have appeared in quite a few of the different Fallout games. Actually going back for quite a while. I think plasma grenades have been in almost every Fallout game, or at least it seems like they have been. Plasma mines, maybe. I don't ever remember using mines in the older games anyway. So these are generally more mid to late game grenades that you can find. Some of them you can find early on. Sometimes vendors tend to sell these, and you can certainly get these in some of the DLCs. Like, I remember the marked men usually carrying around plasma grenades pretty often, at least at higher levels. So let's talk about the plasma grenade first, and then we'll go over to the plasma mine, even though these are both fairly similar. The plasma grenade requires 75 explosives and 2 strength to wield effectively, so kind of high explosives, low strength like most of the thrown weapons, which isn't too big of a deal. This one does 1 damage on direct hit, and then 225 damage on the explosion. That can be pretty good. Of course, the explosion does taper off the further away you get from it, and you will definitely be able to see the full explosion with the plasma grenade, since it gives you this nice big old green light show that you can look at, which is pretty cool. The plasma grenade and the plasma mine also have the chance of turning enemies to the goo puddles, which is kind of funny too, so you can search goo puddles, and they might be easier to find that way. The plasma grenade does 147 damage per second. At least that's what the wiki says. If you hit multiple enemies, you could obviously do much higher damage than that. This one has a big old 0 for crits. You're not going to be hitting crits with this. Well, you can hit crits with it, but it doesn't actually do any extra damage. So, 1 times crit modifier, which doesn't matter if you can't really do any crit damage. Costs 24 action points, which is about the same as every other thrown weapon. However, this one can be lowered specifically with the perk Plasma Spaz, which is kind of funny. We'll talk about that when we get to perks that affect these. And then these both also weigh half a weight, so they're pretty manageable to carry around. For the general pros of the plasma mine and plasma grenade, these do have pretty high damage. You do a lot of damage with these compared to other thrown explosives. They're not the most, or placed explosives. They're not as much as like the MFC clusters that we talked about the other day, where those do tons of damage per second. These ones still do very respectable amounts of damage, but not quite that high. These are also holdout weapons, so you can sneak these in, which is pretty cool. You may not want to be using explosives indoors, but I mean, you do you. You can always pickpocket these and put them in people's pockets, so if you want to kill them that way, you could absolutely do it. The only major con to both these is that they're kind of rare, outside of the obvious limitations of both the grenade and the mine, where you can blow yourself up with them. They may not be the most practical to be using in every situation like all explosives are. Those type of things, but the major con is just that these things are kind of rare. Most people don't tend to have them, and most people don't tend to sell them. So you might want to hold on to them for certain situations that you feel like they're more appropriate to. There are a couple of different perks that help out with these two. Mostly Heave-Ho will only help out with the grenade, I think. I don't think it affects mines. But this makes it so you can throw the grenade further, which is pretty cool. That can actually help you quite a bit, depending on how far you want to throw these. Demo Expert is a great one because it just gets you more damage with all explosives. So if you're going with an explosives build, there's no reason not to take that one and max it out. Splash damage can be both a pro and a con. Gives you a bigger AoE, but that makes it easier to hurt yourself, so it's worse indoors but better outdoors, or against multiple enemies in a area further away from you. Hit the deck is really good because it makes it so that you take less explosion damage. That's really good, makes it so you're less likely to blow yourself up. And then Plasma Spaz specifically affects these because these are both plasma weapons. And if you take Plasma Spaz, it actually does reduce the action point cost of at least the grenade by like 5 points. The mine, I think it's a little bit more because it's a percentage based. So if you want to be throwing them in vats, you absolutely can. Explosives in vats are always kind of finicky because they might not go as far as you think they would, or enemies still might be able to get up close to you, and then you throw it basically at your feet, and now you have the enemy hitting you and your own grenade going off, which can cause quite a few problems, as you would kind of expect. Plasma grenade is all around a pretty decent grenade. On my tier list, I would put the plasma grenade up into A tier. I think it's pretty good. It's one of my go-to grenades, assuming that I have them. I wouldn't say that it's quite S tier, because I would rather take something like the cluster grenades over this. The plasma grenade is really, really good. I would say it's about on par with the frag grenade. Frag grenade technically does do less damage, but they're way more common, so you can just have a ton of them. Plasma grenade is basically an upgrade to that. It's a less common grenade that you're going to get to use, so that's why I'd put it into A tier. Let's go over the plasma mine and what it kind of does and its stats. So the plasma mine also requires 75 explosives and 2 strength in order to wield. Same as the grenade, nothing crazy there. This one does 1 damage on direct hit and then 150 damage on explosion, so less damage than the plasma grenade, but the advantage is that you can stack these up if you would like and have things run across them and explode them. That can be really good. If you're hitting something directly with the plasma mine, you're probably also going to suffer from the explosion, so that 1 extra damage on hit doesn't really matter. This one does 76 damage per second. That totally depends on how many things are stepping on the grenade. That's just what the wiki said, so DPS ranges heavily depending on how many things you're blowing up. This has a big old 0 for crit damage as well. 1 times crit modifier. Crits don't matter on explosives for the most part. The plasma, mine, and grenade are no exception to that. This one costs 35 action points to use. You probably shouldn't be using VATS when you're placing mines. Usually you want to do that before enemies start actually getting up to you, or while you're in the process of moving back from enemies and you have distance to place these down. So yeah, probably just don't use it in VATS. It is affected by plasma spaz though, so the action points do go down if you want that. And this one also only weighs half a weight like most of the mines. And this one basically has all the same pros and cons as the plasma grenade. It's affected by all the same perks except for maybe heave-ho. I'm not sure if that actually affects placed explosives. If it does, it doesn't really matter that much because you're not going to be able to chuck them very far. Your person does put them out just in front of you. These ones are great for mines. These are also like my go-to mines if I don't have like frag mines, which are going to be way more common than plasma mines, or if I'm not doing something specific like pulse mines. There are still, I would argue, better mines than this one, but this one is still pretty decent because you could go with like satchel charges too, and you could make those, and they're very powerful. They also weigh less than other explosives, so that's really cool. I would also put the plasma mine up into A tier too. It's just a decent all-around explosive. Same goes with the grenade. They are really cool weapons that you can absolutely use, and they do have pretty good use all the way across any of the Fallout games. New Vegas is no exception to that, so if you get these, that's pretty awesome. Again, not a whole lot of people sell them. You can steal quite a few of these from the Silver Rush though, which is always fun. I always like going to the Silver Rush and just swiping all of their stuff. And the grenades are probably some of the better parts of that, since all their other stuff is in such low quality and it doesn't matter what quality your explosives are in so long as they go off. So should you use the plasma grenade and plasma mine? Yeah, sure, maybe if you're doing an explosives build, or if you just want to add it into any sort of hybrid build or general purpose build, they'll work perfectly fine. They'll blow things up the way you want them to blow up, and they can be pretty handy because they don't weigh very much. Tell me your thoughts on the plasma mine and plasma grenade down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And tell me what other weapons you would like to see in this list. We have quite a few to go over. So thank you guys so very much for watching this. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.